Well, hello and good evening. In theory, I shouldn't pull back the red curtain. In theory, I shouldn't tell you what's been going on for the last 20 minutes or so, whereby the system that we use here for the interviews and to get the graphics up on screen and all of this, it's been down globally for everyone. And you came very close tonight to having a shelf analysis in which it was just me talking to screen for 25 minutes about stuff, which it wouldn't have been as entertaining as what's about to happen this evening. So, firstly, to everybody involved in Be Live, which is the thing that we use, thank you for getting everything organized. Cheers, chin chin, and all that. Oh, I had that just on the off chance I was going to need to talk to you for 25 minutes with very few notes and with absolutely no preparation of any kind. Welcome to Shelf Analysis. This is episode 6. My name is Ricochet, but you'll know that already because you're in the Ricochet Book Club. Couple of things just to give you a heads up on tonight. Firstly, the show itself is going to go out 3 nights this week. I know I'd started doing 5 last week, and then I realized the folly of my own ways and that was never going to work. So 3 nights this week. There will be a live show tonight. There will be one on Wednesday and one on Thursday as well, with 3 fantastic guests we have lined up for you this week on the show. The first of which is our first UK guest, and he's going to be on in a couple of minutes. I love it that lots of people have been guessing throughout the day, and nobody's gotten it right, which I quite like that. Thank you to our friends at RTE Culture. If you have people that you know who are really into their books, maybe they don't do Facebook, maybe they're not members of the Ricochet Book Club, they will be able to find some of the interviews. Selected ones are going to be available on the RTE Culture website from time to time. Already, the one with myself and Sinead Gleeson is there. The one with Liz Nugent from last week is there as well. So you can go to rte.ie/culture and you'll be able to find those throughout the course of the week. Of course, you're here and it's live and it's now and it's me. And thanks a minute. This is just that close. That close. Another couple of things before we get on to our guest tonight. Hi to everybody at the Courch Festival in Galway. Courch today became the latest festival that had to announce that obviously their events weren't going to be able to go ahead this year, or at least not in the form in which they were originally intended. I'm really disappointed, primarily because this was the first year I was going to be doing some major moderating work at Courch, and there were some fantastic events lined up that I wanted to go and see myself as well. However, keep an eye on the Courch website. They are trying to do some stuff virtually. They are trying to create some content from the festival, and I'm hoping to be part of that as well. So keep your eye on that if you were planning on going. Now, if you normally watch the show, you will be aware that Karina is the house plant here. I say house plant. There's a lot of house plants here, to be really honest with you. I live in a house that's entirely full of plants. If you want to know what is being, this one here, that one there, yes, that's the button, correct. Over the course of these shows, Karina, our houseplant, has been reading certain things at certain times. So if I go here, and then this will go here. Karina, what are you reading tonight? Oh, hello, Karina. Hi. Karina's being gently wafted by the breeze in my kitchen. Tonight, Karina appears to be reading The Wonderful Orchid and the Wasp. I would have thought a small amount of jealousy and a small amount of danger, orchids, wasps, by the wonderful Keeling Hughes. If you haven't read Keeling Hughes' Orchid and the Wasp from a couple of years ago, she's got a new book coming out this summer as well. Are you enjoying it, Karina? I mean, just you know, that's probably yes. It's probably a good yes. It's a major yes. Fair enough. And we'll see what Karina is reading tomorrow night on the program. She's just the warm-up, though, really, let's be honest. Our main guest coming to us in a moment from the UK. One book for me to recommend for you every night, and this is a bit like, was it a week ago, 10 days ago, that I had my kids over, and I decided we were going to lean in to what was going on for all of us, and we watched Shaun of the Dead and 28 Days Later. Great night's entertainment. I can highly recommend it. I thought then afterwards about if you're interested in reading books that you could potentially look at the door right now and think, this could be taking place where I am. We're not in the middle of a post-apocalyptic world. We're in the middle of a pandemic. However, the wonderful John Wyndham, a very, 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 very long time ago, wrote what is probably my first ever favorite book ever. This is Day of the Triffids. It's a wonderful Penguin edition as well, bought for me by my eldest for my birthday. It's in absolutely mint condition, and it's a thing of absolute wonder and joy. There's John Wyndham there. If you've never read Day of the Triffids or stuff like Midwich Cookers, any of his science fiction of that era, Day of the Triffids was the one for me when I was 13, 14 and read it for the first time. And it is, if you've seen the movie of Day of the Triffids, the original 1950s movie with Howard Keel, it's nothing like that. It has a proper ending, for one thing. The Americans don't come along in submarines and save everybody. Spoiler alert, but the movie's been around since the 50s. Day of the Triffids is a story about a series of giant plants, the seeds of which arrive on Earth through a meteor storm, and then they proceed to attempt to wipe out the human race. And it's about a series of characters who are attempting to live throughout the course of that. It's exquisitely written. It's beautiful. It is a book that I keep coming back to again and again and again. I haven't read it yet. But if you're leaning into the whole experience that we're all having right now, John Wyndham's Day of the Triffids might be the way to go. Thanks to everybody who's commenting. We will get to some of your comments in a little while. I've got to get down here on screen. That's why I am directing and presenting the show at the same time. You just can't get the people these days. You just can't. Tonight is a writer. He is an interviewer. He is a novelist. He is a TV host. He's the presenter of the Big Scottish Book Club. He is also the host of his literary salon, which happens in the Savoy Hotel in London. And he is also the author of You Will Be Safe Here, which has been out recently and is now out in paperback this week. I'm going to try pressing this button and saying hello to Damian Barr.
Hi.
How are you doing?
We made it.
I know we had a lot. We'll get a slight delay, which is fine. We had a moment earlier in the day where you and I spent the bones of 45 minutes attempting to get all of this stuff working, only to almost end up with the whole thing not happening at 8 o'clock tonight. So I think it's due to happen. I think this is fated.
It is fated. It is fated. I enjoyed hearing you talking about the Day of the Triffids. It reminded me of my other favourite John Wyndham book, The Chrysalids, which is set in a near future post-apocalyptic world. There's been some kind of nuclear holocaust and society is obsessed with remaining normal so that they stop another tribulation. It's a really good apocalypse read if people are looking for those right now.
I think it's one of those few John Wyndhams that I haven't read as of yet. I mean, I only read Midwich Cuckoos last year.
You'll love it. You'll
Fantastic.
love it. Get your hands on a copy. Honestly, it's a real treat.
Okay, explain to me, and this is the first thing I've been asking all of our authors or guests on the show. Tell me maybe a little bit about the last week, the last 10 days, about where you are and about how you've been dealing with the thing, the situation, where we all are right
now. Well, thank you, first of all, for having me on. I was touring with my novel in Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa, which started just as Corona was kind of kicking off. And so I watched over the course of a book tour, people go from shaking your hand, kind of patting you on the back, coming up to you at a signing queue, to the elbow thing, to the foot shake, to people stopping, coming to events. And by the time I got to the end of the tour in South Africa, which was already quite emotional because that's where the book is set, and for me it was kind of taking the book home, I wasn't even sure I'd get home. So I got one of the last flights out of South Africa. And I got back home, and I think because I'd been away, I'd not been in the atmosphere of, if you like, feverishness. And I arrived to that and, just was immediately hit with a whole load of stuff, family stuff, home stuff and work stuff. So, my whole paperback tour, like Sinead was saying about her tour the other day, she was going to New York. My whole paperback tour in the UK immediately cancelled, of course. Not the end of the world, but, loads of people worked on it and planned it. We were supposed to be filming a next series of the Big Scottish Book Club in May. That's been pushed back. And we've got a salon on Friday. We're still doing that. We're going to do that online, inspired by you. But it's just been a world of having to sort stuff out. And I wish I could say sort of Pollyanna-ishly, oh, it's thrilling, it's a great opportunity and all the rest of it. But actually all it's been really for the past 10 days has been a lot of hard work and a lot of unpicking the knitting of the year. But I'm nearly done with that now, and I'm starting to think about what might come next. I planted some seeds in the garden. That made me feel good. That made me feel nice.
Maybe then, because I was going to ask you about this later anyway, but briefly explain to us about the digital salon that's happening. Because I've always been one of those people who's wanted to go to one of the physical actual salons, but you have to be in London at a certain time, and you have to. So explain to us, this is an opportunity for us all to go to one.
Yes, I mean, I want people to come from all over, and that's the nice thing that you now can do this. digitally. So we're going to be doing it on Facebook Live on Friday. If you're interested, go to the Damian Barr Literary Salon page on Facebook and just click like, and it'll be a Facebook Live, which you're more than welcome to join. We'll have 3 authors there. I'll introduce the evening. There won't be an interview format like this because we haven't quite worked the technology. It'll be them reading and talking about their books and taking questions that people send in and notes and stuff like that. And we're also going to give away some signed books to people who are watching live. So we've got Polly Sampson, John Niven, and Pete Pavides. We've got 3 really good guests, and yeah, people can join from anywhere in the world, and that'll be really nice. And I'll get dressed up, which will be lovely.
And again, because I'm conscious people always do this, they go, what did you just say? Where can I find that? Just remind us of the page and the date and the time.
If you go to Facebook and look up Damian Barr's Literary Salon, you'll find us there, or you can just look up theliterarysalon.co.uk, and it'll have all the details of how to watch there. Or you can follow us on Instagram or any one of a number of social platforms. Send us a pigeon. Do what you like. It'll be there on Friday from 7 p.m.
I've got already a couple of comments, and somebody is asking, can we have the name again of the John Wyndham book you recommended? That's the Chrysalids. Yeah. Or just grab any John Wyndham book, and it'll be an absolute joy. Kevin says, it's Damian Barr. That was my favorite book of last year. Not a bother. Liz, who's obviously my better half and other half and is inside, has just messaged to say, I'll put the link to the Literary Salon at the end. It's fine. Okay, so that's done and dealt with. Before I ask you to pick the 3 books that I've asked you to recommend tonight, the paperback of the book is out, and I did stick it up. The new cover is gorgeous.
Isn't it beautiful? Yeah, it's amazing. It's quite spooky in a way. The boy on the cover looks, I'm just looking at it now, he looks really like me at that age. And the person who designed it didn't know me at that age, would have no idea what I looked like. So that's kind of spooky that it's a bit like me. But no, it's from one of my favourite scenes in the book. It's from, the book is set in South Africa and goes from 1900 to now. And this bit is from the sort of now bit of the book. And it's where one boy is teaching another boy how to swim at midnight in this pond, in a sort of brutal camp that they've been sent to in South Africa, which is run by former soldiers. One boy is teaching another boy how to swim. So if you like the song Night Swimming, that's the song that I was listening to when I wrote that scene.
Okay, give me the first of the 3 books you've picked out. As with all of our authors, I haven't really given you criteria. I've just said 3 that you want to put in front of people that they might want to read right now.
Well, I thought I'd start with this one, which is what I'm reading just now, because I'm doing less work. I'm actually able to read for pleasure. And this is a book that I bought the other day from City Books in Brighton. It's called Here We Are by Graham Swift, and it has the most incredible jacket.
Wow.
Look at that. I mean, that is a thing of beauty. It's a very slender novel with sprayed edges, gorgeous. So a bit of a fetish
very nice
there. And it's the first Graham Swift novel that I've read. And it's set in Brighton in 1959. And I live in Brighton. So it's set in Brighton in 1959, and it's about a sort of doomed love triangle that happens in an end of the pier show. So there's a magician who calls himself Pablo, the great Pablo, and his assistant Evie, who is sort of legs up to her chin, but incredibly bright and could be at least as successful as Ronnie Pablo. And then Jack, who's the compere, who's a sort of dazzling Jack the Lad figure. And the 3 of them have this I've got this much to finish. Look, I've got about 20 pages to finish, and I know that it all centres on a magic trick, but I don't yet know which trick it is. And it's the kind of slender novel that novelists dream of writing. You walk into a shop and you think, oh, how nice, what's that? 30,000 words, lovely. But actually, it's a book where I find myself wanting more. We get the backstories of the characters because it's just after the war. So, Ronnie, as he then was before he became Pablo, has sent away to, he's evacuated. And I love that whole sequence where we find about his family who looks after him. And he has quite a nice childhood because he was in Bethnal Green before that, and it was all rough and difficult. And now he's in the country. And I wanted more of that. So although I'm enjoying it, there are moments where I find myself wanting more, which is probably a testament to his writing, actually. The parrot that's on the cover plays quite an important part in the book. It's not just a pretty jacket. The parrot has this role. The boy's father is a merchant sailor, and he comes back to this house in Bethnal Green where they haven't quite got enough to eat. It's never quite warm enough. It's quite rough and tumble. And he brings them a parrot, and it's a sort of symbol of kind of luxurious, ambitious uselessness, really, in the book. And I think is going to appear in the last few pages. So anyway, so I'm reading that just now. I haven't finished it. If anybody has finished it and they want to get in touch with me and tell me what you think of the ending, I would love to hear from them, but not until I'm done.
No, you're just not yet. Don't spoil that for you immediately.
Not yet.
To the end of the book.
Don't tell me what happens yet.
I think there's a thing as well at the moment, and from having talked to not just authors on this show, but from talking to readers over the last week or 2 weeks, a lot of people are finding it maybe hard to concentrate. They would normally be really good readers. They're going through a phase for whatever reason of, I can't really stick to that. So maybe, short stories, novellas, even we had the suggestion of poetry earlier last week as well, that maybe they're things that people could throw themselves into if they're finding that just, a regular size novel isn't doing it for them.
I think just honestly, if you can concentrate right now on an episode of Peppa Pig, I think you're doing incredibly well. Like, I just don't think people should feel bad about not being able to read all of Proust. And this thing that's going around about, Shakespeare wrote King Lear during the plague. Shakespeare didn't have Netflix, right? Shakespeare would just have been watching Netflix if he'd had it during the plague. I'm sick of this pressure that we've all got to sort of either become geniuses in what we produce or what we consume. I think, but short stories are a good way in. And also rereading things where you're not going to be surprised by it, and you can just kind of ease into it. I think that definitely does help people. And by the way, cheers.
Cheers. Oh, you've got one. Oh, that looks much nicer than mine. What's that?
It's a whiskey called The Beach. What have you got? That looks like rosé. It can't be. Is it beer?
No, it's not. It's an IPA by a brewery here called Rascals Brewing. So it's
nice.
One of their local beers. It is made about 500 yards from where I live. Which is it's the reason I moved here, frankly.
No beer miles for you then. That's very good.
Tell me about your second book. What have you got?
Okay, so this second book, it's by John Niven, who I mentioned as a guest at the salon on Friday, and it's called The Fuck It List. As John said, not a great idea to have a novel whose name is very hard to say on TV and radio. But I don't know how you abbreviate it to that. It's just as bad. But anyway,
they've done a great job with the cover design. That's perfect, right?
That's very good, isn't it? That's just the proof. I'm not sure if it's the final. Have you seen the final cover? Is it the same?
No, not at all. That looks super. Yeah.
It is an absolutely brilliant novel. So if you don't follow John on Twitter, follow him immediately. He's a real satirist in the truest sense that he seeks to understand power and how it disfigures individuals who exercise it unfairly. And he has no truck with the inequality in our society, and he's actually a very humane person, even though he's foul-mouthed and appalling in many ways. And this novel is set in America in 2026, so it's a near future America. President Ivanka Trump is reigning in the White House, and there's a man called Frank who gets a terminal cancer diagnosis, and rather than just going away and dying, what he does is he makes this list of all the people who've ever upset him or hurt him from his childhood right the way up to now. And he's had a pretty hard life. It's not a spoiler to tell you that in the first few pages he reveals that his wife and a child were killed in one of these terrible mass shootings. And so there's a lot of really serious social commentary. Anyway, Frank decides to take revenge because he's nothing to lose. And let's just say he takes it very far. And I would not be surprised if John Niven was not languishing in an FBI dark prison in the next 6 months. Because it's that shocking. But it's brilliant. And if you like satire and you don't mind swearing, then you would absolutely love this novel.
I just think that's a brilliant blurb for the front cover. I would not be surprised if John Niven is languishing in a dark FBI cell in the next 6 months. I would immediately buy that book.
I was sent the proof, and I absolutely love it. And funnily, I have some friends who work in Washington DC, including a friend. Well, I won't say where she works, but anyway, people in America are very excited about it already. Let's just say.
Lovely.
So it's a great book. It's really, and it will stand the test of time as well. I think it really will.
Okay, and finally, what is your third?
Oh, well, okay. So this is a book that's part of a series of books. This whole series of books started, I think, the year I was born and continue up until now. The author keeps saying he's never going to write another, and then he does, and I'm very glad that he's a serial liar in that regard. And it is Tales of the City by Armistead Maupin.
Yeah, lovely.
And look, this one's signed. Let me find it. It's my precious signed copy. Ooh. Beloved signed copy. Oh, I know. It goes in a special bookcase all on its own. And so for people who, I mean, you've read them all, right?
Yeah, I've read the first 3. I don't think I've read beyond that, though. But I have seen the TV series recently. Is it Netflix I saw the TV series on? Laura Linney's in
Netflix.
Yeah.
Yes, the Netflix one. I did not love the recent Netflix adaptation, I have to say. I loved episode 6 of 10. That's how specific I can be about it. But I like the Channel 4 adaptation. But Tales of the City, for those who don't know, is set in San Francisco, which is hence the hill. And it's about the occupants of a house called Number 28 Barbary Lane. It's described as a bear with stuff stuck in its fur, and it's high up on a hill. And you can find it there if you want. I went to San Francisco to find it, and I wrote a feature about that in The Guardian, which was a great joy to do. And Armistead started writing this as a newspaper column in 1974 or 5, I think. And so they're very short in that, like Dickens did too. They're very short, very episodic, very of the time. So some of it's quite dated now. So, you know, people are taking Quaaludes in the 1970s, and they're taking ecstasy, and then they're taking Molly. They're making calls on the landline, sending faxes, and now they're DMing each other on Twitter. So the world grows, but the characters change too. But Mrs. Madrigal is the landlady who calls her tenants her children, and it's all about the different people who live in the house. Mary Ann Singleton, who's this innocent from the Midwest, who comes out there and discovers the city, with Michael Mouse, one of the very first gay characters I read in fiction, who didn't die horribly, who had a lovely life, who had friends. So, you know, I found these books when I was in my late teens, and they've stayed with me through my whole life, and I absolutely love them. And he's writing another one now. For fans of the series, in case you don't know, he's writing one about Mona's adventures in England, which is very exciting. So yeah, there you go. Tales of the City.
It's a brilliant recommendation, because I read, I think, the first 3, but I was in my mid-20s when I read them. It's a long time ago. My copies are even long since gone from the bookshelves. So it's a good one to re-dig back into. And particularly, it's a series, if people get into the first one and like the characters, like the setting, like the location, then that'll just...
Oh, God, yeah. And they stay with you for the rest of your life. And you grow older with them. Do you know what I mean? That's the lovely thing. And they're very heartwarming. Also, Armistead likes Hitchcock. So there's always quite a kind of there's a mystery element. They get a bit Nancy Drew, but I like that too. So I enjoy that as well.
My Nancy Drews are long gone from my bookshelf as well, along with the Hardy Boys and the 3 Investigators. Sadly, somewhere
they're all coming back. Don't worry, they're all coming back.
I hope so. Before we finish up, what are you working on at the moment in terms of your writing, as opposed to, because obviously you are furiously doing other things elsewhere. But what are you doing in terms of your writing?
Well, I just wrote a thing for Radio 4 about glowworms, which I enjoyed doing. That was fun. And in terms of my next longer piece of writing, I've got 2 novels, and I've done bits of both of them. I'll be very honest with you. If my agent's watching, she will be on the phone in the morning to give me hassle. 2 novels that I've written bits of, and my memoir that I've written bits of. And I thought if I wrote a bit of each of them, one of them would emerge the clear winner, but actually I can't decide. So, and right now my attention is just so fragmented that I can't imagine writing anything longer than a feature. I've been writing a feature today, and it's taken me most of the day. So, so there are 2 or 3 other books. I think the next book will be a novel, and I'm also working with Andrea Gibb, the brilliant screenwriter, on the screen adaptation of Maggie and Me. So I'm working on that, which is writing, even though it's something I've already written.
I've got a couple of things. Firstly, to say I took an hour of your writing out. So whoever it is you are writing for today, my sincere apologies. I took an hour of that out when we were trying to get this set up, and then we ended up talking. It is an absolute joy to have you on the program, and particularly given that you and I know each other from social media, but we've never met in real life, and we haven't done a festival together yet. But that is something that will happen at some point down the line, I'm absolutely sure.
In the autumn, in the spring, whenever it is, we will have a lovely time together, and we'll have a drink together as well.
Yeah, really chin nice. Chin to you. Thank you very much. I'm actually going to have a drink.
That's terrible. The ice is a prop. I've been drinking the props.
No. That's not to. Damian Barr in Brighton, thanks a million for taking the time out tonight, and I'll
A
talk to you soon.
pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Cheers. Thanks.
Thank you very much. See you
Bye.
later.
Bye. Oh, that was immense fun. Okay, where have I got the bit where I turn off his thing? There you go. That's it. We're done. That's it for him and for tonight. Genuinely, you have no idea how close we came to not having a show tonight. It was quite exciting, actually. It was quite thrilling. We will have links to the books that Damian recommended. You'll find them in comments underneath. There's no show tomorrow night. There will be a show on Wednesday night and a show on Thursday night. And from now on, we're doing Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday as well. In the next 3 weeks, we've got the next 3 weeks lined up. We are going to New York. We are going to Belfast. We are going to the UK again, and we are going to Sweden at various points over the next few weeks to talk to authors about their work and the books they want to recommend to you right now as well. If you want to get in contact, you can, of course, do so. rick@rte.ie. That's the email address for everything in life. Or you can drop me a comment below here. Make sure you stick my name in it, and we'll see it there. On RTE Gold, weekday mornings from 10 o'clock, if you just fancy a few hours where you can zen out and just not think about it right now. And thanks to everybody who said lovely things for the show on RTE Radio 1 yesterday as well, because you're also going to be able to catch me at the weekends on RTE Radio 1 and RTE Gold doing a simulcast. This weekend, it's Saturday. So RTE Gold, 10 a.m. every morning, and then between 2 and 6 this coming Saturday on RTE Radio 1 as well. Next of these, Wednesday night here, bang on 8 o'clock. Again, as usual, thanks a million for paying attention and for coming along. And we'll have another shelf analysis for you on Wednesday night here in the Ricochet Pub. See you then.